Have you ever stood in an airport holding your passport and suddenly felt nervous because you were not sure what to say to the staff?
Or maybe you have wondered, what do I say when someone asks me, do you have anything to declare? That question can feel a little scary if you don't know it.
Today, we're going to answer both of those questions and many more because we're talking about airports.
Yes, and don't worry, by the end of this episode, you'll feel calm and confident the next time you travel.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Learning Lab, where learning English is easy and enjoyable.
I'm James, and as always, I'm here with my wonderful co-host.
And I'm Jenny. Thank you, James. That was such a sweet introduction.
Of course. So, Jenny, this is day 7 of our Speak English Fluently in 10 Days series. Can you believe it?
I cannot believe it, James. We're already more than halfway through, and today's topic is one of my favorites because almost everyone travels at some point in their life.
That is so true. Today, we're talking about at-the-airport conversations, from the moment you walk in all the way to boarding your flight.
Exactly, and we're going to walk through it step by step, just like you are really there with us.
I love that idea. So let's imagine we just arrived at the airport, and we're pulling our suitcases behind us. What is the very first thing we usually need to do?
Great question, James. The very first thing is usually checking in, which means telling the airline that you have arrived and giving them your ticket or booking information.
Right, and this happens at the check-in counter. So let's practice. Imagine I'm the airline staff and you're the passenger, okay?
Okay, I love role play. Let's do it.
Good morning. Welcome to Sky Airlines. May I see your passport and ticket, please?
Good morning. Yes, of course. Here you go.
That was perfect, Jenny. Now, let me explain something important here. Notice how I said, may I see your passport and ticket, please? This is a very polite way to ask for someone's documents.
That is such a great point, James. In English, we often use may I when we want to be extra polite, especially in professional situations, like at an airport, a bank, or a hotel.
Exactly. And instead of saying, give me your passport, which can sound rude, we soften it with, may I see or could I see? Both are polite and friendly.
You're so smart, James. That's such a useful tip for beginners. Okay, let's continue. So, after I give my passport and ticket, what usually happens next?
Good question. Next, the staff might ask you some simple questions like, how many bags are you checking in today?
Ah, yes, and this is asking about your luggage, right? The suitcases that go under the plane, not the small bag you keep with you.
Exactly right, Jenny. We call the big suitcase checked baggage, and the small bag you keep with you is called carry-on luggage or hand luggage.
That's a really important difference to remember. So let me answer your question now. I would say, I'm checking in one bag today.
Perfect answer. Very natural and simple. And then the staff member might say, please place your bag on the scale.
Ah, the scale. That's the machine that weighs your suitcase, correct?
Yes, exactly, because airlines have weight limits for luggage, usually around 20 to 23 kilograms for checked bags.
That's so helpful to know, James, because I remember one time my suitcase was too heavy and I had to take some clothes out right there at the airport.
Oh no, that must have been stressful. What did you say to the staff in that situation?
I said, oh no, is it over the limit? Can I take something out and put it in my carry-on bag?
That's such a natural, useful sentence, Jenny. Is it over the limit is a great phrase. It simply means, is my bag too heavy?
Exactly, and over the limit can also be used in other situations, like speed limits when driving, so it's a very flexible phrase.
That's a great connection, Jenny. You always find such clear ways to explain things. Okay, so after check-in, where do we usually go next?
After checking, we usually go through security, which can feel a little stressful for beginners, but don't worry, we'll make it simple today.
Yes, security is where they check your bags and your body to make sure you're not carrying anything dangerous.
Right, and usually a security officer will say something like, please remove your laptop and place it in a separate tray.
That's such an important sentence to know. Remove simply means take out, and tray is that small plastic box they use to hold your things.
Exactly. And they might also say, please take off your shoes and your belt.
Yes, and if you're not sure what to do, it's totally okay to ask, "Excuse me, should I take off my jacket too?"
That's such a good question to keep in your pocket, James. Should I take off my jacket too? It shows that you are polite and it helps you understand exactly what to do.
Absolutely. And remember, the security officers do this every day, so they're usually very patient and helpful, especially if you ask politely.
That's very comforting to hear, James, because many beginners feel nervous thinking their English is not good enough. But honestly, simple and polite sentences are more than enough.
I completely agree, Jenny. You don't need fancy words at the airport. You just need clear and polite English.
So true. Okay, once we pass through security, what's the next big step, especially for international travel?
Great question. The next step is usually immigration or passport control. This is where an officer checks your passport and sometimes asks you a few questions.
Ooh, this part can feel intimidating for beginners, so let's practice it together, James. Can you play the immigration officer this time?
Sure, I would love to. Good afternoon. May I see your passport, please?
Good afternoon. Here you are.
Thank you. What is the purpose of your visit?
I'm here for tourism. I'm visiting for 1 week.
Perfect answer, Jenny. What is the purpose of your visit simply means, why are you here? And you can answer with words like tourism, business, or visiting family.
That's such a clear explanation, James. And sometimes they might also ask, where are you staying?
Yes, and you can simply answer with the name of your hotel or say that you're staying with a friend or staying with your family.
I love how simple these answers can be. You really do not need long sentences, just clear and honest information.
Exactly, Jenny. And that is the whole point of our channel, keeping English simple, natural, and stress-free.
You are so right, James. Okay, after immigration, sometimes we also go through customs. Can you explain what that means?
Of course. Customs is where officers check if you're bringing anything that is not allowed into the country or anything you need to pay tax on.
Ah, and this is where that famous question comes in. Do you have anything to declare?
Yes. To declare means to officially tell them about something, usually expensive items, food, or a large amount of money.
So if I'm not bringing anything special, how should I answer that question?
You can simply say, "No, I have nothing to declare." And that is a completely normal and common answer.
That is such a relief to know, because that question used to confuse me so much when I was a beginner.
You are definitely not alone, Jenny. So many learners feel confused by that question, but now our viewers will understand it perfectly.
I am so happy about that. Okay, once we finish immigration and customs, what do we usually look for next inside the airport?
Great question. Next, we usually look for our departure gate, which is the specific area where we wait before boarding the plane.
Right, and sometimes we're not sure where to go, so it is useful to ask airport staff, "Excuse me, could you tell me where gate B12 is?"
That is such a practical sentence, Jenny. Notice how polite it sounds, starting with "excuse me" and using "could you" instead of just saying "where is gate B12?"
Exactly, and the staff might answer, "Go straight ahead, then turn left. It's near the food court."
That is a perfect example of giving directions, using simple words like straight ahead, turn left, and near.
I love how these direction words are used everywhere, not just at airports, but also on the street or inside buildings.
That is such a great observation, Jenny. Learning these words once really helps you in so many situations.
Thank you, James. Okay, so now we're near our gate and we're waiting. What usually happens next?
Well, eventually, you'll hear an announcement, something like, "Flight 205 to London is now boarding. Please proceed to gate B12.
Oh, boarding is such an important word. It simply means getting on the plane, right?
Exactly right. And proceed to simply means go to. It just sounds a little more formal, which is common in airport announcements.
That makes so much sense, James. So, once we hear that announcement, what do we usually do?
We usually line up, which means standing in a row waiting for our turn, and then a staff member will say, "May I see your boarding pass, please?"
And a boarding pass is that small ticket that shows our seat number and flight information, correct?
Exactly. Sometimes it's a paper ticket and sometimes it's on our phone, especially if we checked in online before arriving at the airport.
Oh, that reminds me, James. Can we talk a little bit about online check-in too? I think that is very useful for beginners to know about.
That is such a good idea, Jenny. Many airlines now let you check in on their website or app, usually 24 to 48 hours before your flight.
Right, and this means you can choose your seat and sometimes print your boarding pass at home, which can save so much time at the airport.
Exactly. And if you already checked in online, sometimes you can go straight to a special counter called bag drop, just to drop off your suitcase.
Oh, bag drop. That is such a useful phrase. It simply means leaving your checked luggage there without doing the full check-in process again.
You explained that perfectly, Jenny. You are such a natural teacher.
Aw, thank you so much, James. That means a lot. Okay, now let us go back to boarding. Once we show our boarding pass, what happens next?
After that, we usually walk through a hallway called a jet bridge, which connects the airport building directly to the airplane door.
Ah, I always find that part exciting because it means we're almost on the plane.
Me too, Jenny. And once we step onto the plane, a flight attendant usually greets us and says, "Welcome aboard. May I see your boarding pass to help you find your seat?"
That is so friendly. Welcome aboard simply means welcome onto the plane, and it's a warm way to greet passengers.
Exactly. And once we find our seat, we usually need to put our carry-on bag in the overhead bin, which is that storage space above our seat.
Oh, overhead bin. That is such a useful word because I remember not knowing that word during my very first flight.
It is completely normal not to know it at first. That is exactly why we're here, to help our viewers feel prepared and confident.
That is so true, James, and I love that our goal is always to make English feel practical and useful for real life.
Absolutely. So once we're seated, the flight attendant might also say, "Please fasten your seatbelt and keep your tray table up during takeoff."
Fasten your seatbelt. That means to connect it and make it secure, right?
Exactly right. And tray table is that small table that folds down in front of you, which we usually keep up during takeoff and landing for safety.
That is such important information, James, especially for someone who is flying for the very first time.
I completely agree, Jenny. And once we're in the air, a flight attendant might come around and ask, "Would you like something to drink?"
Oh, I love that question. I usually answer, "Yes, please. Could I have some water?"
That is such a polite and simple answer. And notice how we use "could I have," which is a very natural way to politely ask for something.
That is such a great tip, James. Could I have really is one of those phrases we can use everywhere, not just on a plane.
You are so right. We can use it at a restaurant, a coffee shop, or even at home with family.
I love that. Okay, let us imagine now that our flight has landed and we're getting ready to leave the plane. What usually happens next?
Great question. Once we land, the flight attendant usually says, "Please remain seated until the seatbelt sign is turned off."
Remain seated simply means stay in your seat, right? It's another polite, slightly formal way to say please wait.
Exactly. And once the seatbelt sign turns off, we can stand up, take our bag from the overhead bin, and slowly walk off the plane.
And after that, we usually go to baggage claim, which is where we collect our checked suitcase, right?
Yes, exactly. And there's often a big screen showing flight numbers and which carousel, or belt, your luggage will arrive on.
Oh, carousel. That is such an interesting word. It's that moving belt that carries the suitcases around in a circle.
Exactly. And if you can't find your bag, you can go to the lost luggage counter and say, "Excuse me, I cannot find my suitcase. Can you help me, please?"
That is such an important sentence to know because losing your luggage can feel very stressful, especially in a new country.
I agree completely, Jenny. But with this sentence ready in your mind, you'll feel much calmer even in that situation.
That is exactly why I love this series so much, James. We're not just teaching grammar, we're teaching real confidence.
Beautifully said, Jenny. And that really is our biggest goal here at the Learning Lab.
Thank you, James. Okay, I think we have covered such a wonderful journey today, from check-in all the way to baggage claim.
We really have. Should we take a moment now to review the most important phrases from today's lesson?
Yes, that is such a good idea. Let's do a quick summary for our viewers.
All right, so first, at check-in, we can say, I'm checking in one bag today, or is it over the limit?
And at security, we can say, should I take off my jacket too? Or listen for instructions like remove your laptop.
At immigration, remember, what is the purpose of your visit? And you can answer with tourism, business, or visiting family.
And at customs, the famous question, do you have anything to declare? Which you can answer with, no, I have nothing to declare.
When looking for your gate, remember, excuse me, could you tell me where gate B12 is?
And once on the plane, useful phrases like, could I have some water please? And welcome aboard.
And finally, at baggage claim, excuse me, I cannot find my suitcase. Can you help me, please?
Wow, James, when we say it all together like that, it really shows how much we covered today and how useful these phrases really are.
It truly does, Jenny, and I hope every single one of our viewers feels much more confident now about traveling in English.
I completely agree. Now, before we finish today, we have a special question of the day for you.
Yes, our question today is, have you ever traveled to another country? What was the most difficult English phrase you needed to use at the airport?
I would love to hear your stories, so please write your answer in the comments below in English so you can practice writing too.
That is such a great way to practice, Jenny, and we truly do read every single comment, so please do not be shy.
That is so true. We love hearing from all of you around the world.
All right, everyone, that brings us to the end of Day 7 of our Speak English Fluently in 10 Days series.
If you learned something new today, please give this video a like and share it with a friend who is also learning English.
And don't forget to subscribe to the Learning Lab and turn on notifications so you never miss Day 8.
Thank you all so much for watching and for learning with us today.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep smiling, and remember, learning English really can be easy and enjoyable.
Goodbye, everyone, and see you tomorrow for Day 8.
Bye, everyone. Take care.